The woods wasn't just about getting rid of a problem. It was about getting rid of a witness. Yes. Do you have proof of the embezzling? Hannah nodded. Email screenshots, bank statements. I kept them on a cloud drive. I thought maybe I'd need them someday for protection. Hannah, that changes everything. That's leverage. Or it's a reason for him to make sure I really disappear next time. Jake pulled out his phone. What's the login for the cloud drive? Hannah gave it to him. Jake opened the files and started scrolling. It was all there. Emails between Chris and someone named Marcus discussing moving funds and covering tracks. Bank transfers, falsified reports. This is enough to put him in prison, Jake said. But it's also enough to make him dangerous. Let him be dangerous. We're ready. As if on cue, headlights swept across the front window. A car slowing down outside the house. Jake stood, every muscle tensing. Hannah, take Emily and go to the bathroom. Lock the door. Don't come out until I tell you. Jake, now. Hannah woke Emily and hurried her down the hall. Jake heard the bathroom door lock. He moved to the window and looked out. A black Audi sat idling in front of his house. The driver's door opened. A man got out. Tall, athletic build, expensive jacket. Even in the dark, Jake could see the arrogance in the way he moved. Chris Donovan had come to finish what he started. Chris walked up the driveway slowly, deliberately, like he owned the place. Jake opened the front door before Chris could knock. Can I help you? Jake kept his voice level. Chris stopped at the bottom of the porch steps. I'm looking for someone. A woman pregnant. I have reason to believe she's here. And you are? Chris Donovan. I'm her boyfriend. She's confused. Not well. I need to take her home. The woman inside says different. Chris's expression hardened. The woman inside is unstable. She has a history of lying, making accusations. I'm concerned for her mental health and the health of our baby. That's interesting because the woman inside says you left her in the woods to die. That's ridiculous. I've been looking for her all evening. I'm relieved she's safe. Chris took a step up. Now, if you'll just Jake moved to block the door. You're not coming in. This isn't your business. You made it my business when you abandoned her on my road. Chris's mask slipped. Just for a second, Jake saw the rage underneath. You have no idea what you're interfering with. Embezzlement, attempted murder, witness intimidation. Did I miss anything? Chris went very still. She told you. She told me everything. And I've got screenshots of your emails, bank records, text messages, all backed up in 3 different places. Jake leaned against the doorframe. So, here's how this is going to work. You're going to get in your car and drive away. Tomorrow morning, Hannah's filing a police report with a lawyer present. Then we're handing over all the evidence of your financial crimes to both the police and your company's board of directors, and you're going to leave Hannah alone forever. You're bluffing. Try me. Chris stared at him for a long moment. Then he smiled. It was the coldest smile Jake had ever seen. You think you're a hero? You think saving her makes you special? You're just a lonely single dad who found a damsel in distress. This is pathetic. Maybe, but I'm the pathetic single dad standing between you and her. So, what are you going to do about it? Chris took another step up. Jake didn't move. You're making a mistake. Chris said quietly. I have lawyers who will bury you. I have connections. I can make your life very difficult. Get off my property. She's carrying my child. I have rights. You gave up those rights when you left her to die. Now leave or I call the police right now and have you arrested for trespassing, attempted murder, and embezzlement all at once. Your choice. Chris's hand curled into a fist. For a second, Jake thought he might actually throw a punch. Part of him hoped he would. It would make the assault charge easier. But Chris wasn't that stupid. He backed down the steps, his eyes never leaving Jake's face. This isn't over, he said. Yeah, it is. You just don't know it yet. Chris got in his Audi and drove away, tires spitting gravel. Jake watched until the tail lights disappeared, then went back inside and locked the door. Hannah, Emily, you can come out. The bathroom door opened. Hannah emerged, pale but standing straight. Was that him? She asked. Yeah. What did he say? Exactly what you'd expect. Threats, lies, the usual. Hannah sank onto the couch. He's not going to stop. You know that, right? He's going to fight this with everything he has. So will we. But Jake, you heard what he said. He has lawyers, money, and we have the truth and evidence, and a lawyer who specializes in exactly this kind of case. Jake sat down across from her. Hannah, I need you to trust me. Can you do that? Hannah looked at him for a long moment. This man who'd stopped his car in the rain, who'd brought her into his home, who'd stood up to Chris without hesitation. Yes, she said finally. I can trust you. Good, because tomorrow morning we go on offense. Jerome arrived at 8 a.m. sharp. Carrying a briefcase and 2 coffees, he set one in front of Hannah and sat down at the kitchen table. All right, he said, pulling out a legal pad. Tell me everything. Start from the beginning. Hannah did. She told him about meeting Chris in college, about the pregnancy, about the abuse that started slowly and escalated, about finding the evidence of embezzlement, about the phone call 3 days ago when Chris asked her to meet him to talk things through. About the drive to the woods, about Chris and Kara leaving her there. Carrara's laughter fading as they drove away. Jerome took notes, his expression growing darker with every detail. And you have the financial evidence? He asked. Jake handed him a USB drive. Everything, emails, bank transfers, falsified reports, it's all there. Jerome plugged it into his laptop and started scrolling. This is good. This is very good. This gives us leverage. He looked at Hannah. Are you prepared for what comes next? Because this is going to get ugly. Chris is going to attack your character, your mental health, your fitness as a mother. He's going to try to paint you as unstable and vindictive. I know, Hannah said quietly. But I'm not backing down. Good, because neither am I. Jerome closed his laptop. Here's the plan. First, we file a police report. Then, we get a restraining order. Then, we contact Chris's company about the embezzlement. By the time we're done, he'll be too busy defending himself to come after you. They went to the police station at 10 o'clock. Anna gave her statement to a detective named Morrison, who listened with a stone face and took careful notes. When she finished, Morrison looked at Jake. And you found her when? Around 7 o'clock p.m. Thursday on Redwood Pass, about 2 miles from the main junction. And you have evidence of Mr. Donovan being in the area? Jake handed him the credit card receipts. Gas station timestamp proves he was there. Morrison studied the receipts. This is good. Combined with Ms. Hannah's testimony and the physical evidence of exposure and injuries, we have enough for attempted murder charges. He looked at Hannah. Are you sure you want to pursue this? Once we start, there's no going back. Hannah's voice didn't waver. I'm sure. All right, then. Morrison stood. We'll bring in Mr. Donovan and Miss Walsh for questioning. In the meantime, stay somewhere safe. If he contacts you, call 911 immediately. They left the station and drove back to Jake's house. Hannah was quiet in the passenger seat, staring out the window. "You did good in there," Jake said. "It doesn't feel good. It feels terrifying. That's normal. What if they don't believe me? What if Chris's lawyers find some way to twist everything? Then we fight harder." "Hannah, look at me." He waited until she turned. "You're not alone in this. You understand? Whatever happens, you have people in your corner now." Hannah's eyes filled with tears. "Why are you doing this? Really?" Jake thought about Sarah, about the strangers who stopped, about the kind of man he wanted to be for Emily. "Because 3 years ago, my wife was dying on the side of the road and strangers stopped to help her. They didn't know her. They didn't owe her anything. But they stopped and they stayed with her until the end. They gave her something I couldn't. They made sure she wasn't alone." His voice cracked. "So when I saw you out there in the rain, I saw a chance to be that person for someone else. To be the stranger who stops. That's all." Hannah reached across the console and took his hand. "Your wife was lucky to have you. I was the lucky one." They sat there for a moment in the driveway. Hands clasped, connected by grief and hope and the strange way life brings people together in their darkest moments. The next week moved fast. Chris and Kara were arrested. Chris's company launched an investigation into the embezzlement. The restraining order was approved. Jerome worked around the clock building the case, but the most surprising thing happened at Jake's house. Hannah stayed. At first, it was practical. She had nowhere else to go. But as the days passed, something shifted. She started cooking dinner. Emily started coming home from school excited to show Hannah her homework. Jake found himself looking forward to the sound of Hannah's voice in the morning, to the way she laughed at Emily's jokes, to the quiet conversations they had after Emily went to bed. "I need to find my own place," Hannah said one evening. They were sitting on the porch watching the sunset. "I can't keep imposing on you." "You're not imposing, Jake. I mean it. This house has been too quiet for too long. Having you here, he trailed off, not sure how to finish." "It's what?" Hannah asked softly. "It's like we're all healing. You from Chris, me and Emily from Sarah. We're helping each other." Hannah was quiet for a long moment. "Can I tell you something? That night in the woods, when I thought I was going to die, I made myself a promise. I promised that if I survived, I would never settle for less than I deserved again. Not in love, not in life, not ever. That's a good promise. And I think maybe I survived for a reason. To meet you, to be here, to be part of whatever this is." Jake turned to look at her. Really look at her. The bruises had faded. The fear in her eyes had softened. She looked stronger now, present. "What is this?" he asked. "I don't know, but I'd like to find out." 3 months later, Hannah gave birth to a baby girl. Jake and Emily were there holding her hands through every contraction, every push. When the baby finally arrived, pink and screaming and perfect, Hannah looked up at Jake with tears streaming down her face. "Thank you," she whispered. "For everything. What are you going to name her?" Emily asked, leaning over to see the baby. Hannah looked down at her daughter. "Hope. Her name is Hope." Chris's trial happened 6 months later. He was convicted of embezzlement, attempted murder, and witness intimidation. 20 years in prison, eligible for parole in 12. Kara got 5 years as an accomplice. On the day of the sentencing, Jake and Hannah stood outside the courthouse. Hannah held baby Hope in her arms, Emily beside her. "It's really over," Hannah said. "It's really over. I keep thinking about that night. About how close I came to dying out there. About how you almost didn't see me. But I did see you. Why do you think that is?" Out of all the people who could have driven down that road, why you? Jake looked at Emily, then at Hope, then at Hannah. I don't know. Maybe there's no reason. Maybe it was just luck. Or maybe Hannah said it was exactly what was supposed to happen. 2 years after that night in the rain, as Jakeens, Hannah got married in a small ceremony in Jake's backyard. Emily was the maid of honor. Hope, now a toddler, was the flower girl and threw petals everywhere except where she was supposed to. During the reception, Emily pulled Jake aside. Dad, can I ask you something? Of course, sweetheart. Do you think Mom would be okay with this? With you marrying Hannah? Jake knelt down to his daughter's level. I think your mom would be happy that we're happy, that we found each other when we needed it most. I think so, too. Emily hugged him tight. I'm glad you stopped that night. I'm glad you saw her. Me too, baby. Me, too. Later, as the sun set and the party wound down, Jake found Hannah standing at the edge of the yard, looking out at the woods in the distance. You okay? He asked, slipping his arm around her waist. I was just thinking about that night, about everything that's happened since. Regrets? Not even one. She turned to face him. You know what you asked me that night in your living room? You asked me what Chris said that made me so afraid. I remember. I never told you the answer. The real answer. You don't have to. He said no one would ever choose me. That I was broken and worthless. And no one would ever stop for someone like me. Her voice was steady, strong. But he was wrong. You stopped. You chose me. And because of that, I got to choose myself, too. Jake pulled her close. You were never broken, Hannah. You were just waiting for someone to see you clearly. And you did. You saw me. I still do every day. They stood there together, watching the last light fade from the sky. Somewhere behind them, Emily was teaching Hope to dance. Their laughter carried on the evening breeze. And Jake thought about that rainy Thursday, about the choice to stop, about how one decision could change everything. He thought about the woman he'd found in the woods and the family they'd built from the ashes of their separate tragedies. And he was grateful for the rain, for the wrong turn, for the moment he'd glanced through the windshield and seen something that made him hit the brakes. Because that's all it takes sometimes. One person who decides to stop, one person who decides to care, one person who looks at a stranger and says, "You matter." And everything changes. If this story moved you, please hit the subscribe button for Soul Story. We share stories of hope, resilience, and the power of human kindness every week. Drop a comment below telling us which moment touched you most. And share this story with someone who needs a reminder that there are still good people in the world. Thank you for watching. And remember, sometimes the smallest acts of kindness create the biggest miracles. A single dad, a deserted back road, a pregnant woman abandoned in the woods. Jake Rivers saw her through the rain and pulled over. What he thought was a rescue became something else entirely when she looked him in the eyes and said the words that would break him. Words about betrayal, about being left to die by the people who promised to love her. And words that would make Jake realize that saving her life was only the beginning. Before we continue, let us know in the comments section where in the world you're tuning in from. We love seeing how far our stories reach. And if this story speaks to you, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. The wipers couldn't keep up with the rain. Jake squinted through the windshield, his knuckles white on the steering wheel. Thursday evening, almost 7, and the back roads of Redwood Hills looked like they'd been swallowed by the storm. Dad, you missed the turn. Jake glanced in the rear-view mirror. Emily sat in her dance clothes, her hair still pulled back tight from practice. I know, sweetheart. This way's faster when the main road floods. It wasn't faster. Jake knew that. But driving gave him something to focus on besides the date. 2 more days until the anniversary. 3 years since Sarah died. And the grief still came in waves that knocked him sideways. The road curved through thick woods. Dark, isolated. The kind of place where Jake's foot slammed the brake. Dad. There against the oak tree, a shape that didn't belong. Stay in the car, Em. What is it? Just stay here. Lock the doors behind me. Jake grabbed his flashlight and stepped into the rain. Cold water hit him like a slap. He moved toward the tree, his boots sinking into mud. The shape moved. Not a shape. A person. A woman. Jake broke into a run. She was slumped against the trunk, soaked through her arms wrapped around herself, and she was pregnant. Very pregnant. Ma'am. Jake dropped to his knees beside her. Can you hear me? Her eyes opened barely. They were glazed with cold and something worse. Terror. Please, she whispered. Please don't leave me here. I'm not leaving you. I'm Jake. What's your name? Hannah. Hannah, how long have you been out here? I don't. Hours, maybe. I can't feel my hands. Jake swept the flashlight over her. Torn clothes, scratches on her arms, bruises around her wrists like someone had grabbed her hard. Can you stand? I'll try. He helped her up and she collapsed against him, dead weight. She was shaking so violently he could hear her teeth chattering. Okay, I've got you. Lean on me. They made it to the car. Jake opened the passenger door and helped Hannah inside. Emily's eyes went wide. Dad, who her name's Hannah, were taking her home. Jake cranked the heat to maximum and threw his jacket over Hannah's shoulders. He did a fast U-turn, tires spitting mud, and accelerated back toward his house. Thank you. Hannah breathed. Thank you for stopping. What happened? How did you get out there? Hannah's face crumpled. They left me. Chris and Kara. They drove away. Who's Chris? The father. My ex. Her voice broke. I thought he wanted to talk to fix things before the baby came, but he didn't. He never wanted to fix anything. Jake's jaw tightened. Did he hurt you? Hannah nodded. Then she gasped, her hand flying to her belly. Contraction. Yeah, they're getting closer. How close? Maybe 10 minutes apart. Jake pressed harder on the gas. His house was 8 minutes away. The hospital was 40. No choice. I'm calling my friend Ryan. He's a paramedic. We'll get you stable, then figure out next steps. In the back seat, Emily's voice came out small and scared. Why would someone leave her in the woods? Jake met his daughter's eyes in the mirror. I don't know, baby. But he did know. He'd seen it before, not personally, but in the news. Men who hurt women and thought they could walk away clean. Men who believed the world belonged to them. And everyone else was disposable. They pulled up to the house 6 minutes later. Jake helped Hannah inside while Emily ran ahead to open the door. The warmth hit them like a wall. Couch, sit. Jake grabbed blankets from the closet and wrapped them around Hannah. Get the heating pad from my bathroom. Okay. While Emily was gone, Jake knelt in front of Hannah. Under the lights, she looked worse. The bruises were darker, fresher, and there was a cut on her cheek that made his stomach turn. Hannah, I need to ask you something. Is Chris going to come looking for you? She shook her head. He told me I was on my own, that I ruined his life, that the baby ruined everything, and I should have. She couldn't finish. Jake felt something cold settle in his chest. Should have what? He wanted me to get rid of it. When I said no, he got angry. He started. Her voice dropped to a whisper. He started hitting me. Said I trapped him. That I was nothing. That no one would believe me if I told anyone. Emily came back with the heating pad. Jake plugged it in and placed it on Hannah's lap. Dad, should I call 911? Not yet. Let me call Ryan first. Jake stepped into the kitchen and dialed. Ryan picked up immediately. Jake, what's going on? I need you at my house now. I found a pregnant woman abandoned in the woods. She's hypothermic, in early labor, and I think she's been assaulted. How fast can you get here? 15 minutes. Keep her warm. I'm coming. Jake hung up and returned to the living room. Hannah's eyes were closed, her breathing shallow. Hannah, stay with me. Her eyes opened. Why did you stop? What? Why did you stop for me? You don't know me. Most people would have just kept driving. Jake sat down on the coffee table across from her. 3 years ago, my wife died in a car accident. She was alone on a back road, not unlike this one. But people stopped. Strangers stopped. They held her hand while they waited for help. They made sure she wasn't alone when he swallowed hard. So, no, Hannah. I couldn't keep driving. Tears spilled down Hannah's cheeks. I'm sorry. Don't be sorry. You didn't do anything wrong. I did. I trusted him. I thought he loved me once. I thought that meant something. Emily came to stand beside Jake, her small hand reaching out to touch Hannah's arm. My dad says love isn't what people say, it's what they do. Hannah looked at this 9-year-old girl and something in her face broke open. Your dad's right. Another contraction hit. Hannah doubled over, gasping. Breathe, Jake said. Just breathe through it. 30 seconds, 40. The contraction passed and Hannah slumped back against the couch. Headlights swept across the window. Ryan. Jake stood to let him in, but Hannah's hand shot out and grabbed his wrist. Her grip was surprisingly strong. Jake, wait. There's something I need to tell you. What is it? She looked at Emily, then back at Jake. Fear flickered across her face. Raw primal fear. Chris didn't just leave me out there. Before they drove away, he told me something. He said even if I survived, even if someone found me, it wouldn't matter. He said he had proof that I was an unfit mother, that he'd take the baby the second it was born and I'd never see it again. He said he had lawyers, money, connections. Her voice dropped to a whisper. He said I was nothing and no one would ever believe me over him. Jake felt his blood go cold. And Kara, his girlfriend, she laughed. She actually laughed and said I should have died out there, that it would have been easier for everyone. The doorbell rang. Ryan, but Jake didn't move. He stared at Hannah, at this woman who'd been left to die in the woods like she was garbage. And he felt something harden inside him. Something that felt like steel forging in a fire. What's Chris's last name? Donovan. Chris Donovan. And Kara. Kara Walsh. Jake nodded slowly. Okay, here's what's going to happen. Ryan's going to make sure you and the baby are okay. Then we're going to figure out exactly what Chris and Kara did. And then we're going to make sure they never hurt you again. You don't understand. He has money. He has I don't care what he has. Jake's voice was quiet but absolute. You're under my roof now. That means you're under my protection. And I promise you, Hannah, they're not getting away with this. The doorbell rang again. Jake went to answer it, and Ryan came in with his medical bag, already asking questions, already taking charge. But as Ryan examined Hannah, as Emily brought her water and held her hand through another contraction, Jake stood in the kitchen and pulled out his phone. He hadn't used these skills in years. Not since he left his job as an insurance investigator. But some things you never forget. How to find people, how to track evidence, how to build a case that couldn't be ignored. Chris Donovan thought he'd committed the perfect crime. He thought leaving Hannah in those woods meant she'd disappear and his problem would solve itself. He was wrong because Jake Rivers had just made it his mission to prove that sometimes the people you throw away are the ones who come back to bury you. Ryan worked quickly, checking Hannah's vitals while asking questions in that calm paramedic voice that made everything seem manageable. Temperature, pulse, blood pressure. Hannah's answers came in fragments between contractions. Blood pressure is low, but stable, Ryan said, glancing at Jake. She's dehydrated and hypothermic, but the baby's heartbeat is strong. Contractions are about 8 minutes apart now. Do we need to get her to the hospital? Jake asked. Not immediately. But if those contractions get closer or her water breaks, we move fast. Ryan turned to Hannah. You're doing great. Just keep warm and try to relax. Relax. Hannah repeated with a bitter laugh. Right. Ryan packed up his bag and pulled Jake aside into the kitchen. What aren't you telling me? Ryan asked quietly. What do you mean, Jake? I've known you for 15 years. You've got that look, the one you used to get when you were working a case and found something that didn't add up. Jake leaned against the counter. She was left out there on purpose. Her ex and his new girlfriend drove her into the woods and abandoned her while she was in early labor. Ryan's face went hard. That's attempted murder. That's exactly what it is. And according to Hannah, this guy has money and lawyers, and he's planning to take the baby from her the second it's born. Can he do that? I don't know, but I'm going to find out. Jake pulled out his phone. I need you to stay with them while I make some calls. Who are you calling? Everyone I used to know, starting with Jerome. Ryan raised an eyebrow. Your old college buddy, the civil rights lawyer. He owes me a favor. Several, actually. Jake stepped out onto the porch into the rain and dialed. Jerome picked up on the third ring. Jake Rivers, it's been what, 2 years? About that. Listen, I need your help with something tonight. Jerome's tone shifted. What kind of something? Jake told him everything. When he finished, there was a long silence on the other end. Jesus Christ, Jerome finally said. Okay, first thing tomorrow, I need to talk to Hannah, get her statement on record. Then we file a police report and I start building a case. But Jake, you need to understand if this guy has the kind of money and connections she says he does, this is going to be ugly. I don't care about ugly. I care about making sure he doesn't win. All right, I'm in. Send me the address. I'll be there at 8 a.m. Jake hung up and went back inside. Hannah was sitting up now, sipping water while Emily showed her pictures on her phone. This is from my last dance recital, Emily said. I was a snowflake. Hannah smiled. It was the first real smile Jake had seen from her. You look beautiful. My mom used to do my hair for recital, Emily continued. But she died. So now Dad does it. He's not very good at buns. Emily, Jake said gently. It's okay, Hannah said. I'm sorry about your mom, Emily. It's okay. Dad says she's watching over us. Do you think your baby will watch over you? Hannah's hand went to her belly. I hope so. I hope I get the chance to. Another contraction cut her off. This one was stronger. Hannah gripped the couch cushions, her face going pale. Ryan checked his watch. 7 minutes. They're progressing. Jake knelt beside Hannah. Look at me. Breathe. In through your nose, out through your mouth. Hannah followed his lead, her eyes locked on his. When the contraction passed, she slumped back, exhausted. "I can't do this," she whispered. "I can't fight him. I don't have money. I don't have lawyers. I don't have anything." "You have me," Jake said. "And that's going to be enough. You don't even know me. I know enough. I know you didn't deserve what happened to you. I know you're strong enough to survive being left in those woods. And I know that anyone who tries to hurt you now is going to have to go through me first." Hannah's eyes filled with tears. "Why are you doing this?" Jake thought about that. About Sarah, about the night she died, about the strangers who stopped, about the kind of person he wanted Emily to grow up to be. "Because it's the right thing to do," he said simply. "And because I can." The night stretched on. Ryan stayed monitoring Hannah's contractions. They slowed slightly, spacing back out to 10 minutes, then 12. By midnight, Hannah had fallen into an exhausted sleep on the couch. Jake sat at the kitchen table with his laptop open, digging into Chris Donovan's life. It didn't take long to find him. Chris Donovan, 32, sales executive at a tech firm in the city. Six-figure salary, new Audi, active on social media with photos of him and Kara at expensive restaurants, on beach vacations, living the life. And not a single mention of Hannah, not a single photo, like she'd never existed. Jake dug deeper. Credit card records. He still had access to databases from his old job. Passwords that hadn't been changed. There, a charge at a gas station. The gas station near the woods where Jake had found Hannah. Timestamp 4:47 p.m. less than 2 hours before Jake found her. Jake took a screenshot. Then he found another charge. A hardware store 2 days ago. Rope and duct tape. His stomach turned. "Find something." Jake looked up. Ryan stood in the doorway. Evidence. Proof he was there. Proof this was planned. "That's good, right? It's a start." Jake rubbed his face. "How is she?" "Sleeping. Contractions have mostly stopped. I think we're stable for now, but she needs to see a real doctor tomorrow. And Jake, she needs to file a police report tonight if possible. Jerome's coming at 8. We'll handle it then." Ryan pulled out a chair and sat down. "You know what you're getting into here. This isn't just helping someone for a night. This is the long game. This is lawyers and court dates and possibly testifying. This is your life getting complicated. I know. And you're doing it anyway. I'm doing it anyway." Ryan nodded slowly. "Sarah would be proud of you." Jake's throat tightened. "I hope so." They sat in silence for a moment. Then Ryan stood. "I should head out. Call me if anything changes. And Jake, be careful. Guys like Chris Donovan don't like being challenged. They fight dirty. So do I." After Ryan left, Jake went back to the living room. Hannah was still asleep, her hand resting on her belly. Emily had fallen asleep in the armchair nearby, curled up under a blanket. Jake stood there watching them. Two people who'd been strangers 12 hours ago. Two people who were now under his protection. His phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. "Stay away from Hannah. This is your only warning." Jake's jaw clenched. He typed back, "Who is this?" No response. He took a screenshot of the message and added it to his growing file of evidence. Then he settled into the other armchair, positioned where he could see both the front door and the window. If Chris or Kara showed up tonight, they'd find Jake waiting. The hours crawled by. Around 3 a.m., Hannah woke up with a gasp. "Hey," Jake said softly. "You're okay. You're safe." Hannah looked around, disoriented. I thought it was a dream." "Not a dream." She sat up slowly. "What time is it?" "A little after 3. You've been up this whole time. Someone needs to keep watch. Hannah pulled the blanket tighter around herself. Can I ask you something? Of course. Your wife, how did you keep going after she died? Jake looked at Emily sleeping in the chair. I kept going for her. Some days that was the only reason I got out of bed, but it was enough. What if it's not enough for me? What if I can't? Hannah, listen to me. You survived tonight. You survived being left in those woods. You survived whatever Chris did to you before that. You're stronger than you think. I don't feel strong. Strong people never do. That's how you know it's real. Hannah was quiet for a long moment. Then she said, there's something else I need to tell you about Chris. Jake leaned forward. What is it? The reason he wanted me to disappear. It's not just about the baby. It's about money. Her voice dropped. Chris has been stealing from his company, embezzling. I found out about it 6 months ago. He made me promise not to tell anyone. Said it was temporary, that he'd pay it back. But then I got pregnant and everything changed. He became paranoid. He said I knew too much, that I could ruin his life if I wanted to. Jake felt the pieces clicking into place. So leaving you in.